Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Uh, this internet, I'm trying to get my SIM card into my other phone so that I can switch connections and run off a mobile connection. I think maybe that will work. But we'll see, inshallah. Okay, so what I was saying to the class is that this sort of can you ask me for a pin for this kind of? Okay, so what I was saying is this paper, if you look at the opposite side of the paper, you can see that it is actually, this is the original color. And this is more like maybe this is a 250 to 300 GSM. Now, GSM, for those who might not know, GSM is they they sell paper according to the weight, right? And you will notice, like if you buy the paper that comes from your printer, the printer paper, you will see that the GSM is something like 80, right? So that tells you the higher the GSM number, it's going to be thicker than a normal paper, right? So 80 would probably be standard, and then it goes up and up and up. When you get to 300, 200 to 300, it starts feeling like card. So the thickness of the paper is now like card. And if you notice, I did something to this paper where if I shine the light, let me, okay, so may I bring the charger plug in? If you see that, if I shine the light on this now, you will see that it's a little bit shiny and smooth. Now, how did I get this to be smooth? I will share a video which is going to give some insight, because I can't explain the whole process right now. It's a sort of a complex process, but basically you're going to have to use wheat starch, and if you don't have stuff like that, um, it's also fine. Now I need the charger plug. Like it's in the room, I think, against the wall thing in the corner. Sorry about this, people. So if you look at the shiny surface, you will see that this part here is what we call waraq al-muqahhara. So in traditional Islamic calligraphy, you will see we use the waraq al-muqahhara, or the coated paper. Muqahhar, it basically means it's coated with something, right? So we're coating it with a layer of what? Of wheat starch, with actually a few layers, letting it dry in between. We're coating that with wheat starch. And then we use something called a masqala. Now the masqala it's practically something that's made either out of glass or smooth stone, right? And you can use that to, once the paper is dry, once those layers of coats are dry, then we use this masqala. This is a masqala, and you'll see the smooth glass here. It's very smooth here, and we'll press and burnish the paper like this, right? So those layers of wheat starch are now sitting on top, and now you smoothen it out. So I did that, and then a final layer of egg white, but the egg white is used. We mix it with alum stone, right? You have to do that for, it takes about 20 minutes. The egg white will start turn foamish and greenish, and then you have to put it in the fridge for another 20 minutes, and then the foam goes down, and that liquid, it's more like a thin layer, thin liquid of the egg white. Some use duck eggs. They say they swear by the duck eggs is better, or white chicken eggs. And then you put it on here, and then same process. Once it's dry, you use the masqala and do that, right, and burnish it. But some calligraphers, they prefer not to do all this work themselves, right? Most calligraphers, we just calligraphers. We don't make paper, we don't make ink from scratch. But if that's something that really interests you, I can perhaps maybe guide you into where you can find resources on how to do these things. I've tried it all myself, and it's very time consuming. I prefer doing calligraphy, the calligraphy, and just buying the paper. Now this paper can sometimes go for 200 or 300 rand just for one sheet, but the sheet is obviously bigger than a A4, but it's quite costly, right? So it's not available in South Africa. If you want, you have to import it from Turkey or from India. There's a place called Hussein Papers, but I'll share some resources in the WhatsApp group afterwards. Okay, so that's one thing that I wanted to share. And then the other thing that I'm going to share is, let me just go to my link that I have open here. Right, now this website is called Bait Al Fan. I'm going to pop the link in the WhatsApp group. Sorry, let me just do that again. But I'll also pop it. I think I'll just pop it on the group. There we go. Right. So you can go to that link, but I will share it now on screen, and we'll just run through it quickly just to tell you what on earth is going on. Right. So when it comes to the history of Kufic, like I said, it's very vast. I'm only taking you to one particular period in this style of calligraphy. And you can see it starts from here, one of the oldest forms of calligraphy. So it's a very nice read. You go through this and it kind of tells you like which century this comes from and so on and so forth, right? This is now obviously in addition to the very basic information that I've given in our first class on the history and development, right? So you can see here, they'll say, it's one of the most recognizable and exquisite scripts of Arabic calligraphy. It's also revered and foundational that medieval Egyptian encyclopedias Al-Qalqashandi declared the Arabic script is the one which is now known as Kufic. And then from it evolved the present pens. So pens, what do we call pens? They when in Arabic they use the term aqlam, right? So aqlam actually refers to, it means pens, literally means pens, but it actually means a script. So here is this, I would say this is better translated as scripts, not pens, right? And then we have Kufic script, and then through the different ages, right? I'm just going to run down. And then right at the bottom, you will see, okay, here's also very beautifully Eastern Kufic. This is called Eastern Kufic. Now look at the variation now. Eastern Kufic. This is Maghribi, the what I referred to earlier on. And this is also the Andalusian Maghribi. And you can see it beautifully applied on the architectural structures. And this is also, this is Eastern, I think this is one is Eastern Kufic as well. But these are more contemporary artworks. Okay. So now you will see they'll mention the artist. So you just go copy the artist's name and then Google that artist further and see what else they produced in Kufic, right? Because they are all like enthusiasts, you can say, in the script. And this person is a Jumana Medlej. She's actually a sort of a big name now, reviving the Kufic script. So she's got lots of tutorials, and she's got paid tutorials and also free tutorials. Sarina Ghazai, you'll find her on Instagram. Also beautiful. I think this is Qayrawani. Kufi, they call this Kufi Qayrawani. And here's another traditional. This one is traditional Kufic, which we are learning. Look at the mashq that I did here with some what you call it, contemporary abstract art style. And this person also making use of geometric shapes. So you can see the names of the artists and see what you like, and maybe you want to produce something similar. But just draw inspiration from these. Sometimes what we can do is to copy the exact thing just for the use of, not for copying purposes, but only for use of practice, just to practice and get to understand the script. And then afterwards you create your own thing. If you want to sell stuff, obviously copyright prevents us from taking other people's work and then just selling it for commercial purposes, right? So that's one thing to take note of. And this one is obviously square Kufic. You can see square Kufic. They end off with a square Kufic. So that's one thing. Then the other thing is that you can go on Pinterest and you can just type in Kufic and you will find loads and loads of examples, sometimes even tutorials on how to write certain letters. But here, like for example, if I open this one, it says Mashriqi. Yeah. So this is Eastern Kufic, right? Or this is, you can say, the old Kufic. And this is the Qayrawani style. And this is the Fatimi style. So they're all Kufic, but three different variations. Here's Lafzul Jalala. This one is also in traditional Kufic, like we learned. Look at that Basmala. Like I say, you can go on and on and on and look at all the beautiful examples of different artworks people have created. There's one person that I would say is sort of, and it's tied to the video that I shared the other day, right? And this person's name is Sayyid Muhammad Wahid Jazairi. He's an Iranian artist, and this is an official page, Kuficpedia. Go to there, and you will see contemporary and also traditional stuff that he's doing, right, in Kufic. Okay, but some of the ones you see on top here is not all Kufic, like this is Thuluth and Naskh, for example. But I think his forte is more in Kufic, right? Here you can see he's like reproducing some Kufic ceramics, right? Teaching a class here on Kufic. So I love this guy because he's a master in Kufic, right? And you can see lots of people get the information when it comes to the Kufic script. He's done a lot of the research for us, right? And he's well respected in the Islamic art world. Okay, so this is Kuficpedia. He's also got another page. I have to get the name of that page and I'll share it, inshallah. Okay. And then what's the other thing? You can go also onto YouTube and you can search. But what I found is that there are certain people that are sharing things that are not incorrect, but like the way you will write it is not accurate. Okay. So let me first share what I'm going to write, and everybody can sort of like follow me in this if you want to. Otherwise, you can just sit back and relax. Okay. Let me just, before we go further, I want to see if Auntie Murida's artwork has downloaded. Okay, it's downloading now only. Yes. Okay, let me bring it up. Beautiful, Auntie Murida. Let's share it for everybody to see. Okay, so we've got, can anybody tell what Auntie Murida wrote here? Pop quiz.
Is it Bismillahirrahmanirrahim?
Yes, correct. Okay, so well spotted there. Right, because I mean, if I ask you like a few weeks ago, before you started this class, would you have been able to decipher what was written here? Like, how many people would have been able to decipher what this is written on the screen? Just by show of hands. Nobody, right? Nobody is showing an indication that they would have known what is written here. But Alhamdulillah, just through a few lessons, you are able to now decipher and read Kufic. it doesn't mean that you'll be able to read everything, because even masters of Arabic calligraphy sometimes struggle to read the script. So it's perfectly normal to take an hour to decipher a page. And if you have the Quran, if you memorize the Quran, it will definitely be easier for you, because once you decipher one word, you'll be able to sort of, your mind will travel and it will connect the dots. So it does make it easier if you are a Hafid al-Quran. Okay. And I want to share with you also the quote that I'm going to write now. So well done, Auntie Murida. The quote that I'm going to write now, I'm going to do this while sharing my screen so everybody can see what I'm doing. Right. I went to, right, let me just search for this, the Hassan Mas'udi. Or is it Hassan? Here we go. Hassan Mas'udi. His name came up now. Here we go. Hassan Mas'udi is an Iraqi calligrapher. He's got a studio in Paris. And if you go to his page, you will see beautiful abstract works. Now, he specializes in this very bold script, sort of like his own take on it's his style of calligraphy, right? So it's not something that you can learn from a book or something like that, except that you can see examples of his writing and what he does. Now, if we look at this example, for example, he's got like 3 scripts here. The first one is the big bold writing, which is just his own version. And sometimes he will use the basis of a particular script to make this big gesture, right? And then in between the white spaces, he will fill up with smaller writing. Now here you can see, this is like Kufic written here, right? At the bottom. But what he does is he takes quotes, right? Maybe this is a Baghdadi person, someone from Baghdad who had this quote, and he will translate that quote into Arabic. So whether it's an English quote you find on the internet, he will take that quote, and here you can see another example. Perhaps despair itself, look on the top here where I'm showing, towards hope, Ibn Zaydun, and then he'll give the date there, etc. So he gives the reference for where he got the quote from, and then he will use that quote to make an artwork around it. And maybe the big gesture would be like a word out of that quote that he wants to emphasize. Understand? So here, for example, there's a quote. Let's go to this one. Now, this one is from Paul Eluard, 1895 to 1952. You get used to everything except for those lead birds, right? I don't know what this actually means, but he used this quote and then he translated it into Arabic. And then he uses the Arabic to create a calligraphy artwork out of it. It's a very simple process, but he's got like a lot of famous quotes. And here he's got one from Rumi: towards another land, a country where only light reigns. And then he does that, right? So what I did was I took one of the quotes that he did. I think it's maybe right at the top here somewhere. Look at this one. It's this one here. Earth is my country and humanity my family. It's by Khalil Gibran, right? His name is sometimes written as Kahlil, right? But his name is Khalil, right? His name is Khalil. This writer, I think I don't know if he's Muslim, but he's a Lebanese, or yeah, I have to check again, but you can Google it. Doesn't really matter right now. The important thing is that he took the quote and then he wrote it in Arabic. Al-ardu watani wal-insaniyatu usrati. Right? Earth is my country and humanity is my family. Okay. Now, let me just go to a new sheet. if I go to my Illustrator, I basically took that quote and I plugged it in here, right? Now, how did I do that? For example, and you can do this on Inkscape as well. Now, this is an A4 paper. This is an A4 paper, right? And you can see the spacing that I used in some Kufic manuscripts. I want you to take note of this, the height here. Sorry, the width. Let me just cancel this here. I'm going to turn this writing, I'm going to turn it on its side. Oops. Sorry, I'm not going to turn it on its side. I'm just going to create a line here, black line, so you can see that's the width of the writing. Now, if I take that thing and I flip it 90 degrees, can you see it's the actual height of the paper? So the width of the writing, is the height of the paper, right? And that's how you get this nice sort of
Teacher,
white. Yes.
Maaf, does that mean it was like square paper that was used?
No, remember, when they started writing on paper, the paper was made from different materials. So they used parchment, and so from animal skin, right? You would get, they would take the cow, for example, they would take a cow hide, and out of a cow, they will only get like 2 papers because they're writing on the skin. So they stretch it and they take the most smooth part of the skin. So maybe at some point in the animal skin, if you stretch it wide open, you're going to get some bumpy areas and so on. So they took the thinnest and the most smooth part of the skin. And then they cut out that part that they can use for writing. Now imagine how many cows you have to slaughter. And they weren't slaughtering it for writing purposes, but because the skin were there, and people obviously, the people who eat meat, they're eating the cows, isn't it? An animal. So the amount of space that they had was this is according to the amount of space that they had using the now the size would vary sometimes because obviously all animals are not the same. So they would find the paper and the size that would be suitable, and then they would create like a space where generally would fit on any of those sizes. Okay, but if when you look at it closely, you will see that there's some sort of standard when it comes to that. Okay, obviously things changed afterwards, and a much better, more economical use of the paper was used because it was very expensive, right? Now paper is very cheap, so you don't have to worry really. But here you will see the width. Okay, and then what I did with the height. Let me do this quickly. That's the height. Okay, and you will see now if I take this, the height, and I flip it on its side, 1, 2, it's maybe 2 3/4, right? You can say like 2.5. So your height could be 2.5. If we made the height like 2.5, it's basically the width divided by 2.5. Okay. If this sounds too technical for you, don't worry. Just look at the space and see what your eyes can pick up regarding the space. And then in Illustrator and these programs, you get something that just look on the right bottom where I'm showing here, my mouse, it says align. And if I just click on there, it will align it. So if I move it out of the way and I align it to the center on the horizontal axis, and then on the vertical axis, it will just center to the middle of the page. Now, what I can do right, is I can print that out. Let me just plug in my printer and then I'll show everybody. Okay, okay, I'm going to use a scrap piece of paper for this. I don't want to waste paper. I'm just going to use a scrap piece of paper and then I'm going to print this quickly. And then I'll use that to create the artwork. Okay, we print and let's see what happens. Oops, my printer is not plugged into my computer. Let me just do that quickly. Okay, I'm on loudspeaker now. It's giving me trouble there. Let's just go print again. I know this sounds like a whole process, but if you get used to planning your artwork like this, and you can see when it's going to print, it's not going to print correctly, so I need to change the orientation there. Let's just do it something like that, right? And I can say print. And now we wait for the print. And now I wait for the print. And in the meantime, what I'm going to do is, okay, I'll have to wait for the print. And then why do I need to wait for the print? So this is what my artwork is going to look like on my A4 paper. You see, I cut my card. I cut it to the A4 paper. And it's basically going to look like that. Now, what I could do is I can take some carbon paper, put it under here. Not really carbon. I wouldn't suggest carbon. But for example, if you don't have a light box and you take if you take a full B pencil, right? Now I can see through here, and I'm just going to make a mark here. I'm just going to make a mark where the line is, right? Yeah. Let's say over there. I'm going to make a mark where the line is. If I turn this paper around, what you'll notice is that where I made that mark now, it's going to come through on the other side. Can you see how easily that mark came off? And this because I have a full B pencil. Okay, so I would recommend all artists need to get a 4B pencil. Get yourself a 4B pencil, and this is going to be easily erased. So if you have an eraser, which we use putty eraser, right? Need to sort out your artist toolbox now, right? Are there perhaps any digital books available that show the sizing of letters and how to start joining letters bit by bit? I think there is a book, but it's the resources are in Arabic, right? There's only one book that I saw that has more like comprehensive. And look at here. I'll find that book, and it's easily erased. Okay. So my point on this was you do that, and you can also go on the tracing the entire thing from the back. But I will use a light box for this, right? Because this tracing business takes a lot of time. So get yourself a light pad, and what the light pad does, you can put this under your paper, for example, and then when you shine the light through underneath, you're going to see all the letters, and you can just basically write over. So after you've prepared your work, you do it like this, right? Okay, So now the second thing I have to do is to get it exactly how I planned it. What do I need to do to get it exactly like that? Is I first need to check my size of my column, right? I'm going to take this number 5. I think maybe this number 5 column is going to work. Okay, and I'm going to use brown ink. So if I, for example, I'm just going to eyeball this. Now, this is my scrap paper. Okay, sorry. Yes, okay, Munira, I'm doing that now. I'm letting you in. Now, this is my scrap paper. Let me put on my light here so you can see better. And you can see, like, if I do the sizing here and I say, well, the alif is supposed to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see that this, remember last time I told you that this, the sizing of the letters in that font that I showed you last week, right, is very similar to the original sizing. So if I put this alif, and I'll say, okay, it needs to go over here somewhere, right? And I'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Now, remember, this is my scrap paper, so I can do what I want, right? I'm just testing out the paper to see if it's working, right? And then I'm going to go right. And remember, this is ahar paper that I'm using now, but ahar paper that I made myself. Okay, and then we've got al-ardu, right? Alif, lam, alif, ra, dad. Okay. And remember, I need to leave like 2 spaces. And if we look here, automatically the space between here and here. Remember last week we spoke about kutlas? This is like 2 and a bit, but you can judge, right, with your eye. So I'll go 1, 2, and I'll start here. Now, remember, we have to make this corner like this, right? So this is rasm. This is the drawing part. And you can go like this, up. And when you get to the center here, you make the bump and like that, okay? So it roughly falls sort of like in the middle of this triangular shape, al-ardu. So you can see like how I'm using my my printed paper to create the artwork, right? So I think I'm happy with this sizing. And like this. Right. Remember the end goes a little bit up. And I'll do 2 spaces, and then from there I have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 maybe. And I go from here. And here's the thing that with your artwork, try to make these, the white spaces in between, try to make them consistent. Like you see the white space over here between the raw and the little white areas of the dots, like the eyes.
and of the dad, right? Yeah. Okay. Right. So if I'm happy with that, let's have a look. Yeah, my suggestion is don't be like me and leave all the stuff lying around here while you're working. It really irritates you. So try to put it out of the way so you just have what you really need right in front of you. Okay, so you just turn this a little bit. Right, there we go. Al-ardu watani. Now look at the wow. The difference between the ra and the wow. The wow has an I, right? Like this. That's how you do the I. Remember that mark that we did? You go up like this, up, bump, and up. Or you can do it from the opposite side, whichever way makes more practical sense for you, right? Now, I've seen some people teaching Kufic, and what they do is they do some weird things, like they will leave this area completely open, like this. For example, they do that, but then this part here, they will actually draw a circle, like a small circle in the middle, and then color this part in. They will go like that. But look how much simpler it is when you just do that stroke. So it's very important you understand that, right? Because when these old manuscripts were examined, you could see the strokes that they made was like this movement over here to make those tiny dots. And they got it very consistent, right? Like I showed you over there and over there. And later on, if you want to refine that dot a little bit, make it even tinier, you just touch it up. But it saves you from having to scribble and scratch and all that. Watani. See, I went over a little bit too far here. So now I know, you see, because this is just my practice. Right? And we go right up here. That's the top. Right? So this is because this is my practice. So now look here, when we do the noon, we have to bring it very close up. This is what I said to Sister Kawthar earlier on. Your letters next to each other, when they're written in one kutla, they have to be like this, right? Then we can go down and to the right. So this is the noon plus ya. And see how I'm trying to get the white space in the middle. I'm trying to get it like this. Okay, now I can put my dots here. That's for dot, right? And then let's see how the the red ink. So when you're putting, remember, law, in order to understand the tashkilat, because remember, this is the tashkilat, right? The tashkilat is the dots is not a nuqta, regarded as a nuqta. It's regarded as the fatha. When it's on the right hand side or above, it's the fatha. Okay, so al-ardu. And if I wanted to put a nuqta here, then it will be over here for dhamma. So Dhamma will go right over here in this corner. So the left hand corners of the letter will be the Dhamma. Right? And at the bottom of the letter will obviously be the Kasra. So the way the old Kufic works is very different to how we know it today. Okay, so there we go. There's a bit of how I would do my artwork. Now, there are other elements that you can also use. And if you look at examples of Kufic, you will see those elements like maybe where the sentence ends. Right? So in Quranic Kufic, where the sentence ends, they will put those 3 dots. But to read through, I need to leave class early, Ma'af. Thank you, sir. Assalamu alaikum. I have a few questions, but we'll also start in the group later. Okay, no problem. Yes, we will end off very soon, inshallah. Now, let me just go back to what I said earlier on. Did you see how when I started creating my artwork, I first made sure, wa alaikum salam, Sister Kauthar. I first made sure that I had my lines and my spacing correctly. Okay. Now, if you download the Inkscape, okay, I will show you now. And as I said, you don't have to write Quran. You can write Quran, you can write Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, you can write anything you want. But if you don't want to write Quran, you can look for quotes and translate it. Maybe also, you don't know Arabic, right? And you want to, for example, okay, let me just share my screen quickly again. Right. For example, you want to translate something into Arabic. Just go to Google Translate. Go to Google Translate. And then you put what you want in English. Like maybe you want to write the word courage, for example. Most of the time, like single words here it'll be okay. It'll be accurate to use, right? So, shuja'a, courage, right? So I can write the word courage and I copy it in. Then I go to my Inkscape. So you have an Inkscape document. And for tutorials on this, you can find loads of tutorials how to use this. If you really want to know how to use it, I can't explain all that, but just look, I'm going to document setup, right? Document properties, sorry. And then I just change the orientation. You can see the orientation is somewhere over here. It says orientation. And I just click on that dot, which shows a horizontal. Okay, so that's what I want. So I'm going to put the word shuja'a somewhere here. I click on text and I write, and I just copy, paste shuja'a. Now, obviously, shuja'a here is not written in that Kufic style. And last week I said you download the font called the Raq. You change the font. You can see on the top left-hand corner here where my mouse is now. I search for that font that's installed, and then I have the word shuja'a. Okay. Now all I do, if I hold Control while dragging it bigger, right, it's going to allow me to basically make the text bigger. Now on an A4 page, this is going to be much bigger. And if I want to sort of like get the space closer here, let me see, in text and font, right? Yeah, it's saying the spacing here. If you click on text on top here, and then go to text and font, and then you will see here it gives you options of the font. Now here it says mashq. Mashq means the stretching. Okay, can everybody hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so
Yes, we can hear you.
okay, so if you can change the spacing over here and you press apply. Okay, sorry, it's giving me a different font now. But you go to, let's suppose go back to rock. I have to look for the rock font. You just click on R and you will go down to that. And I click on rock over here. Okay. And we click on text or features, linkages, position, category. You can change a lot of the features here, right? And it's going to allow you to. Okay, I'm not going to go into all of this now, but if you do need some assistance, you can always contact me and I'll help you set it for you, inshallah. Okay, I'm just going to click on apply now, and it's going to give my thing there, and then I'm going to go to less spacing. And can you see what happened? Automatically, the spacing in between the Jim Alif and the Ain has decreased. Okay, so that's how you can, if you just have one word, it's going to look odd if you just have it spaced away. Let me just show you how it was. It was at naught, right? If you drag the slider to naught or to somewhere where it was before, where's 0? Okay, there. You see what it does? So this is the original one. And I want to decrease the spacing by -65, for example. Let's decrease it. You have to highlight it. So you double click onto the word and then it highlights it first, and then you decrease the spacing or do whatever you want to, and then you click apply. And maybe mashq, let's see what this does. If we increase mashq. Okay, for these letters, it's not doing anything. There are certain letters where the mashq is going to apply. Mashq means the stretching. Okay, everyone, I think this brings us to the end of our introduction to Kufi Mushafi, right? And inshallah, I hope that you will continue learning and continue your exploration, inshallah, in this beautiful historic script, and help try to keep it alive, inshallah. If there's any I have connection problems, as you can see. So if there's any questions, I don't want to drag it out too long because we're just going to get irritated by getting cut all the time. Maybe what I'll do is I'll have, if you want to send me any questions, I'll answer it and I'll make a special video to make up for the bad connection. And I'll repost that video with some more examples, inshallah. Once our class is done, inshallah. So, without any further ado, وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. Shukran to you all for joining this course. I really appreciate it. And you can leave your comments, like whether
Shukran is done.
Afwan, like whether you enjoyed the class or whether you didn't enjoy the class, whether you felt it was not for you, or it was too difficult, or it was easy, or whatever. Whatever questions you have, whatever comments you have, I would appreciate it. And you can also follow me on Instagram. It's just my name, Fahim Roeder Jackson. And also I have a Facebook page, but I'm not posting a lot of calligraphy stuff, you'll see now. But what I would suggest is go to Arabic, the official Arabic calligraphers. So official Akasa. Search for official Akasa, which is the Arabic Calligraphy Association of South Africa. So that's us. You can connect with us there on Instagram, inshallah. And whenever we have courses and stuff like that, we'll always shukran also for the demo of the Inkscape app. Yes, those apps are very interesting. You can do a lot with it, especially if you have Illustrator. It's even better. But Inkscape obviously is the free it's this free version of something like Illustrator, where you can create very large or very tiny artworks, and you can save it as a vector file. Vector basically means it is no matter how large you stretch the file, it's not going to be pixelated, right? So if I had to stretch this to 60 meters wide, you won't see any pixelation, those little dots that you see when you try to stretch pictures. So JPEGs, if this was a JPEG, you do that, it won't work. But on these types of programs, so maybe one day you want to write, you want to write a large piece of artwork for maybe your wall. Was really good. Alhamdulillah, shukran for all the resources. Lots to take in, need to practice. Yes, the important thing is go practice, right? And Sister Kauthar asked the question of where can you get a book which is going to show you. Maybe I'll have to create one. There is one, but like I said, it's the Arabic version, so there's no English explanations and things like that. And apparently, to my knowledge, it's possibly the only good one that I could find where it gives you the proper sizing of the huruf. But you must also remember that because the Kufic script, as we see it here, was developed over time, so different scholars, different calligraphers are going to have different opinions around the sizing, around this, and they all are correct, right? So there's not, just remember that there's not only one way of doing it, right? So like I showed you, okay, this is the easy way we can make the small tiny dot and the small spaces. I showed you how to do that. But if you want to just make a circle and then color it in like I showed you, there are lots of calligraphers that do that, but I find that it takes a lot of time to do that. So this is more practical, the way I've shown you, and it's also the way according to Sayyid Jazairi and also other important figures in the preservation of Kufic, like Ustad Nouri. Ustad Nouri also did workshops in Istanbul, but you won't find the content in English. You will have to find them via searching through Arabic channels, right? So I'm trying to bring this more to the English-speaking community, inshallah, to us here in South Africa especially. And if you have benefited, alhamdulillah, you can share and show other people and say, look, there's going to be courses on this. If you want to learn this, you can follow official Akasa. You can go to Fahim and you can connect with Fahim, inshallah. So whenever I have these classes, I will. And if you want to be added to our WhatsApp group, you can also WhatsApp me, and I'll add you to our official WhatsApp group. There's a lot of other calligraphers with various backgrounds and experience on there. Not only calligraphers, just artists that love calligraphy. So if you want to be joined on that group, inshallah, we can also add you. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد. Once again, shukran, wassalamu alaikum, and Ramadan Kareem. Enjoy your Eid and your last of the Ramadan, inshallah.
شكرا وعليكم السلام.